your potential is also a need that you must satisfy. Or, as Abraham Maslow said, capacities are also needs. This is an idea that could completely transform how you live your life if you took it seriously enough. But most people, probably including yourself, are not taking this idea seriously enough. What is capacity? What is potential? We can use these words interchangeably. It's something that you're capable of, right? It's something that you could achieve, something that you could become. And it would be nice to do it. As people say, it's a shame to waste one's potential. You probably want to actualize your potential. That's how we look at potential and capacity. But we don't look at it as a need. Well, Abraham Maslow said, capacities are also needs. The great humanistic psychologist, one of the greatest psychologists of the 20th century, that you know probably by learning about him in school and learning about the hierarchy of needs, that, by the way, he never represented as a pyramid, and the way that it's taught at school, it's a very reductionistic way of teaching the rich body of work that Abraham Maslow left for us on human potential, on human growth. But now, putting aside criticism, fair criticism towards the educational system, this great thinker, one of the greatest that we had in the 20th century, he said, capacities, your potential, it's also a need. Just like needing to drink water, or just like drinking water or hydrating your body is a need, just like breathing is a need, just like eating is a need, just like community and connection are needs. Actualizing your potential, or rather, using your capacities, and by doing so, moving towards the actualization of your potential, that is a need. And this is different than proposed in that, again, reductionistic and, let's face it, boring pyramid that is presented us in school in hierarchy of needs. It's not just Maslow who talked about this. Rollo said that the essence of neurosis, what is neurosis? Again, a loaded term, somewhat obscure nowadays, but in this context it refers to what today we call mental health problems. Rollo said, the essence of neurosis is person's unused potentials. Abraham Maslow, in his later works, in Further Reaches of Human Nature, he has a whole chapter called Neurosis as a Failure of Personal Growth. We have, prior to both of them, Otto, one of the greatest figures from the school of psychoanalysis, alongside Jung and Freud and Adler, writing an essay, giving a lecture, Neurosis as a Failure in Creativity. Not creativity that everyone needs to become a painter or famous musician, but neurosis, mental health problems resulting from one's refusal or failure to engage in creative expression. Creative expression can take so many different forms. So don't think this is relevant for you only if you're a creative person. And if you're not a creative person, you'll get a free pass. No, all of you listening to this have creative potential that can be expressed and that must be expressed in different forms. Not all of us can be great musicians and painters and writers. But we have some potential in us. And we call it creative potential, or Otto Rank at least talked about creativity because it's one of the most fundamental and essential human energies, human powers, human forces. So all of these thinkers talk about your capacity and potential being something that you, if you don't move towards it, if you don't use your capacities to move towards actualizing your potential, it's not only that you're missing out, it's not only that, it's a shame that he or she wasted their potential. You will suffer deeply psychologically and spiritually. That's what it means when we say your capacities are also needs, or your potential is a need that must be satisfied. It means that you will suffer if you don't do it. Just like you will suffer at some point, pretty soon, if you starve your body of nutrients, of hydration, if you starve your mind and soul from love and human connection, in the same way, you will suffer deeply if you don't use your capacities and if you don't move towards the actualization of your potential. And let me go back once more to the hierarchy of needs. It's not that you need to move up the pyramid as it was laid out. There is relevance to presenting hierarchy of needs as a pyramid. There is relevance to it, but it's a mistake to think that it's always step-by-step process. Maslow didn't imagine self-actualization as a video game. Okay, I completed this level, now I'm on to the next level, on to the next one, on to the next one. Completely wrong way to look at self-actualization, to look at hierarchy of needs as an idea. So why am I saying this? Sometimes the need to actualize your potential or to use your capacities, sometimes it will be of a higher priority than even the need for food and water, even the need for human connection. And this might sound problematic, but we have evidence of that. We have evidence of people who went years and years sleep deprived on the way towards fulfilling their mission, that something that they perceived as their mission. We have people who starve themselves literally in order to achieve something that they considered a higher cause. And I'm just, please, all the biohackers and all the people who will now want to comment, but you should get enough sleep. Please, we all know that we need sleep. We all know that we need water. We all know that we should, optimize for a healthy life. That's not news anymore. The point is that there are moments in life when that is not the most important thing. The most important thing is to sacrifice and maybe short-term jeopardize even your health for the sake of your mission. But probably most of you listening to this are not at that stage yet. So I'm not here encouraging you to jeopardize your health. I'm saying you already are jeopardizing your mental and spiritual health, or psychological and spiritual health, and you will be jeopardizing it and destroying it if you don't take proper action and choose courage on the journey of moving towards your potential. If you allow fear, imposter syndrome, procrastination, different forms of self-sabotage, I'm not saying you can or need to eliminate them 100%. That would be a mistake. That would be attacking that with perfectionistic attitude, which is ridiculous. We cannot, that's one thing that people do. They try to fix perfectionism with perfectionism. I'm a perfectionist, I want to eliminate it. Okay, so you want to eliminate perfectionism in a perfect way, right? Well, let's not address imposter syndrome, fear, procrastination, perfectionism, and different forms of self-sabotage. Let's not try to address them with perfectionistic attitude. But what I'm trying to say, you have to address them and engage in overcoming them to some extent in order to use your capacities. Because if you do allow these different forms of self-sabotage, these different patterns and barriers to prevent you from engaging on your journey, to prevent you from moving forward on your journey, using your potential and your capacities, you will suffer deeply. And let's bring another thing besides different self-sabotaging patterns. Let's bring up laziness. Yes, it's absolutely a valid point. Laziness exists in all of us. Laziness, lethargy, it will come up. We don't want to do the difficult thing. It's a human, natural response. So, let's break the taboo. All of us are sometimes lazy, or all of us are always lazy to a certain extent. And sometimes it's a lot, and we need to acknowledge it, and we need to address it. Maslow said, again, Maslow said. I'm quoting him a lot because he deserves to be quoted. Also, I'm quoting him a lot because I think it is useful to know that it's not just some guy talking based off of me wanting your attention and wanting to sound smart. I know nowadays there are a lot of actually people who present themselves as gurus, life coaches, and some of them, are actually helping people tremendously, but seem to really love not to give credit to the thinkers who allowed all of us to be discussing these topics now. I see, the building your personal brand. Don't quote anyone, just present yourself as the ultimate authority. I think that's kind of silly, because I know young men my age, maybe a bit younger than me, maybe a bit older than me, and they sit in front of the camera and they just talk like myself for 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour, and they're talking as if, they have been born wise. Well, I find it silly, to say the least, but even more so, I find it a bit problematic. That aside now, I was trying to maybe justify myself in quoting some of these great thinkers often. Maslow said that unused capacities either atrophy, but more likely become disease centers. Terrifying statement. Disease centers. Humanistic existential psychologists like depth psychologists, so we are now talking Maslow, Rollo, Carl Jung, Jungians, they went as far as to claim that this could produce that not just unused capacity, but overall inappropriate attitude towards life and not engaging in life in a proper manner, not engaging in life courageously, living a fake life, inauthentic life, not only produces psychological and spiritual suffering and emotional suffering, but also physical. Meaning, they went as far as to say that sometimes this is a cause of a physical sickness and illness. And that, again, might be a controversial statement nowadays when we have a lot of people who really want to make a very strict distinction between the psychological or spiritual and emotional realm versus the physical realm. It's up to you to maybe sit with this and see what you think about it. But at the very least, we know that disease, when Maslow says center of a disease, we can relate it to neurosis. Again, neurosis as failure of personal growth, or Rollo saying the essence of neurosis being person's unused potentialities, or Otto saying neurosis as a failure in creativity. All of those ideas align. So when Maslow says that not using your capacities turns those capacities into disease centers, sounds harrowing. And let's not focus too much on semantics and what disease means. But what he meant was that psychological, spiritual, and maybe even physical sickness. So the question now is not would it be nice to use your capacity and actualize your potential, or move towards the actualization, because it's a never-ending journey. The question isn't would it be nice. The question isn't would it be a shame to waste your potential. It's not just a motivation of, this is something that I could and maybe should move towards. The motivation should be immensely stronger. The question is, can I live with myself if I don't start using my capacities and moving towards my potential? If you sit with yourself honestly, the answer is probably not. Maybe you will stay alive physically and kind of, function in the world. How they say, going through the motions, right? You can do that. That's what most people do. But will you be able to look yourself in the mirror without self-hatred and self-contempt? Will you be able to look yourself in the mirror without resentment? That's the real question. Again, physically you can survive. Physically you can survive not using your capacities and moving towards your potential. Some people don't survive. Let's be clear. Some people don't survive it. A lot of people do. A lot of people do and are able to, to just exist. But even there are people who cannot survive not using their capacities, which probably means that they had immense capacities. So the greater the capacity, the greater the pain of not using it. Think about it. Think about it. Can you bear to live that type of life? Where maybe you have already sensed what it is to be more alive. More alive meaning more engaged in life. More engaged in life meaning more engaged in your journey. More engaged in your journey meaning using your capacities. Meaning moving towards the actualization of your potential. Meaning being the hero of your own story. Meaning inspiring others. Meaning making an impact. Meaning justifying life. Meaning showing to others that life is worth living. Isn't it a better option than psychological and spiritual suffering? Your potential is a need that you must satisfy. Thank you.